important that everybody knows where all the money goes in a closing because it's probably the biggest transaction you ever do. I decided not to bore you again as what we do in a closing, and to give you something else that I think is near and dear to everybody in the group. And that is that there's a book that came out, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, by Robert Kiyosaki. And I don't know how many people have read that, but the book, and I'm not going to give a book report on it, but I think it has some very interesting concepts for everybody here. And the reason why I think it's so important is that in my own life, there was Rich Dad, Poor Dad is about an imaginary rich dad, and he had a poor dad that he calls a poor dad, but he really wasn't poor. He was just a different type of a level, and he goes into different levels. And there's employees, there's a specialist in business, there's a big business, and there's investors. And what he was saying was that his dad, who was a professor, he was an employee, and not many people here are employees. Employees have a very good lifestyle in that there's not a lot of pressure. They don't have to. They have a job. They know where it's going to go. But the government and the taxes and the whole structure is not really set up for their benefit. The way the tax structure works is that employees have to take withholdings and other things out of their income, but other people, and if you go to different levels of the grid, you get to have the government working for you. And the real premises of the book is that if you can get to a point where you have assets, you can have the assets making money for you. And that's the real goal, is to have things working for you rather than you working for them. So what happens is that in my own life I had the benefit of having a father who didn't read the book either, but he understood conceptually what to do in all this and this, how this operates. Because rather than just being an employee, he kept saying, well, go to law school because at least you have a good living and you have a good job. But not so much of a job, but at least it's a specialist that you can make more money than just a regular employee. But when you work for yourself, you get to make your own hours, and you get the benefit of having not to take withholding out of it, but just to pay estimated taxes, but you paid at the end. So you have the time frame is that you don't have to pay. You're not paying the government every week, taking a piece out of your salary every week. You get to use that money and have it work for you. So it's better to go from an employee down to a specialist in a small business or self-employed. And there's also another level, is that when you get big businesses or even a small business, you get to write off your car, or you can lease it. You could take that money out so that you get the enjoyment of a car, but you get to charge it to the company. So you can do certain things in that level too. But where the big money's at, and what you really want to do is get investments in assets where you get more in from that entity than you're taking out. So there's really only two ways to do that, and that's either in real estate or stocks and bonds. Are the ways to go and do it. And probably, as Matt would tell you, there's no free lunch. So the best thing is to be as diversified and have both. But if you're looking to certain things that really come out of this book is that he has certain principles that he comes out with at different points. And the first point is that money is knowledge. If you want to make your assets work for you, what you have to understand is that you need to know a lot, because it's high risk, because you're making things on your own. But the important thing is to get knowledge in any ways, because the more that you know, the more you're able to find out where the opportunities are and to make your assets work for you. So money is knowledge, and the other thing is that it's good to use other people's money, either as investors or through debt. And it isn't just that the fact that they're using other people's money, is that when you look at inflation, what goes on is that in the time value of money, it's better to get the assets now than and have the use of it, and make your assets work for you. And that's how you do it. Is if you have a piece of real estate, you want to have it. You want to be in such a position that you can have that asset be of use by serving as collateral, so that you can get some money out of it. So it's important to have, to be able to use those other assets. But the only thing is you got to be careful, because you have to learn how to control your cash flow, because make sure that it's producing more for you than it's going to cost, so that you get something out of it. And his philosophy is that an asset is something that always, no matter what you're doing, is something that produces more than you put into it. In the book there, he talks about Kawasaki is when he wants to get a Bentley for a car, and so rather than taking the money out of what he has right now, he says, I'm going to get an asset, get an investment, and I want to make sure that asset will give me enough return on it, so that out of that production, I get the money to buy the car. And so the other thing that you should understand is that everything goes in cycles. There was an economist by the name of Joseph Schumpeter who said that if you look at the 60-year cycle, there's always a business cycle where you go through progress, recession, depression, and recovery. And it's because you're taking money out of one energy source that the economy has and puts it into another energy source, so that your investments are always going to go through the whole economy is always going to go through these cycles. So right now we're in a good time to invest, because it's a bad time. So things are at the bottom. And the other thing that's going to happen is that things are moving much faster. Your products, everything else, in a world of an internet, speed and technology is important. You got to look for opportunities all the time. The people that are successful in the world are people who can see opportunities where other people can't. So you should look for opportunities, and then you have to position yourself for opportunities. That means being a network with other people, so that you can see the opportunities. And then most important thing for people who in business is, when you fail, learn how to get up. I mean, it's not failing, it's learn to get up after you fail. But there's also that there's certain things I just wanted to specifically get to that can teach you how you can make some money from real estate. And the most important trick that they have, that the government has, is, I don't know if everyone knows what 1031 exchange is. I'm sure the Jim does, but what it really means is that if you have an investment, in real estate in particularly, is that you never have to pay taxes on capital gains. You can keep rolling it over, and you don't have to recover or recapture. You can take from, there are certain requirements that you have to do in order to do it. New property has to be of equal value or up to the value. You have 45 days. There's some very strict rules, because the IRS really doesn't want you to do this, so that if you're going to be buying another piece of property that you have an investment in, make sure that you try to look for what else you're going to put it into, because you only have 45 days to tell them and 180 days to do the deal, although there's ways to do it where you go as a reverse 1031 exchange, and you have to do it through a qualified intermediary, which doesn't really hold on to your money. Lawyers can tell you how to do that. The other thing is that even though the book tells you that a home is really not an investment that you can make money on, there is ways to turn it over into making some money if you're really smart, because it almost is like income. You can use your primary home to get $250,000 a year for a single person, $500,000 for joint. If for what you sell it for, so you don't have to pay the capital gains tax. If it has to be a primary home, you can only do it once. You have to be in the home for 2 years. You can only do it once every 5, which means that if you have investment property, you can live in it for 1 year, rent it out for 3 years, come back in the fifth year, and you could qualify because you've been there 2 out of 5 years. And then there's some other things that you can really get. That then the legislature I created. It's for brownfield and urban development. Basically, you get dollar for dollar tax credits for whatever you put in. You can get out. But there's some it's for big developments over $5 million. It's probably too complicated to probably go into it very quickly, but if you have anything, let me know, because I can tell you how you can make a lot of money on that. Thanks.